Welcome to the Solid Signal Podcast for the week of May 22nd, 2017. I'm trying some new equipment here in the podcast studios, and we'll see if it actually makes things any better or any worse. If it turns out it makes it worse, then I'll go back to the old equipment. But anyway, the subject for this week's podcast, other than Memorial Day is almost here, and I think we all need a day off, is 4K. How is it possibly almost half past 2017 and we're still talking about when 4K is coming? It turns out that 4K is a little bit more complex than anybody thought, and the reason that we're not seeing it right away is that honestly, there's just so many pieces to put together. It seems like the combination of reduced demand and need for lower priced hardware is finally caught up with the TV side of things. It took a while before you started to really see 4K televisions at a price that people were willing to pay. It's very unlike when people went to HD TV, because then they were willing to pay $15,000, $20,000 for that kind of thing, and today they're just simply not. So look, that's a big part of it. But the other part of it is the content side, which unfortunately is also been sorely lacking. DirecTV has more 4K content than pretty much anybody else, but the sad thing is that they really only have 3 live channels of 4K, which is great. I love 3 4K channels and everything like that, but when I look back at 2006, when I was still an HD early adopter, we were talking about having 9 to 10 HD channels, and even then that was not a lot, but 9 to 10, not 3, and they were all from different sources, as opposed to today it's all from DirecTV. It does seem like we're talking an awful lot more about over-the-air 4K, and I've been pretty harsh in the past to say that over-the-air 4K is probably not going to happen. I'm softening that stance a little bit, because the truth is that with the upcoming FCC repack, which is going to reassign channels from 1,000 TV stations so that they are no longer on channels 38 through 51, all those stations are going to need to buy new equipment, and they're probably going to be buying equipment that is 4K capable. But I wanted to point out once again, and I pointed this out before, that 4K over the air is not mandated by the government. The presence of those 4K tuners is not mandated by the government, and it would be a pretty big change if it were. You'd need to go back to converter boxes, and things would just change. Maybe 5 to 7 years from now, you'll start seeing that kind of equipment creeping in to televisions in the mainstream, but today you're just not seeing it. It's a shame, because 4K is great. Everybody who sees it likes it, as long as they really understand that 4K means more than just a few pixels more. It means high dynamic range. It means a good, sharp, clear television that is really designed to display 4K content. It also means being just the right distance away from that television, not too far away, or you really won't be able to tell the difference between HD and 4K. I have no doubt that in some way, at some level, 4K is coming, because 4K is at some way, in some level, already here. Streaming providers like Netflix and Amazon already have what they call 4K, although the quality is not up to true 4K standards. There's Ultra 4K Blu-ray disc, which is out there, and some people do buy it, and it's not really failing in the marketplace so much as people just barely even know that it's there. And it will probably just hang around the same way that Laserdisc hung around for 10 years, even though everybody was buying VHS at that time. That's just how that goes. But the big frustration I think that everybody has, myself included, is it's 2017 and we're really not seeing that super push of 4K content that we all really wanted at this point. I laid my hands on a 4K television for the first time in 2012. It was in a display and I couldn't take it home with me, and it was also about $40,000 at that time. I thought it was a bit of a mixed bag, because it was just beautiful, but the question to me was whether or not it would have been just as beautiful in HD on a high quality television. It just seems to me like 4K is one of those things that is always just over the horizon, and everybody says that they want it, kind of like voice control and robot maids and flying cars, and everybody says that they want it, but as soon as we get to something that's even approaching a functional prototype, well, then things kind of back off, and all of a sudden we're further behind than we thought. It's a little bit frustrating, but on the other hand, another reason that you have to look at 4K not taking the world by storm is because HD these days is so much better, even better than it was. And that, my friends, is good for everybody.